Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining Asian Identity Justice. It's a dramatic reading of student-written works in progress. And first, we acknowledge that we are coming to you from the unceded land of the Lenape Nation in what is now known as New York City. My name is Alvin Eng. I'm a professor here in the Department of Speech, Communication, and Theater Arts at the Borough of Manhattan Community College here in the City University of New York. This event is a presentation of the Asian Heritage Month in collaboration with the Theater Arts Program and the Ethnic and Race Studies Department. Our stage manager is Santos Collado, and our technical director is Mark Goodlow. Tonight's program features 3 short scripts in progress from BMCC Theater Program students XELEIGHTA Bernardo, CHUNMEI Lee, and CHULUN JUNG. These bold students are studying theater in New York City during a time that's perhaps maybe the most challenging time ever for Asian Americans here in New York City. In these short 3.5 months of 2021, we have experienced almost twice as many hate crimes and attacks against Asian Americans as we experienced in New York City in all of 2020. To quote the great American poet Rita Dove, "Let it be said, while in the midst of horror, we fed on beauty, and that, my love, is how we sustained." In the theater, we hope to create beauty and love, often in the face of adversity, such as the adversity Asian Americans and New Yorkers are facing every day now. And hopefully through the crafts, the multidisciplinary crafts of theater and playwriting, we can achieve that dialogue. So thank you for joining us. Tonight's exercises, the script started as exercises where they were having a dialogue with their younger self. So the performers will be reading as if there are 2 characters. And we also asked the students to choose what we're calling a justice prelude. What's a piece of work, a piece of writing that really encapsulates what justice means to you now during this strange time and space. So we were doing that, and we hope you enjoy and engage with these works. And please join us afterwards. We're going to have a question and answer with 2 of the performers are here. Will be here tonight on the virtual stage for the Q&A. XELEIGHTA Bernardo will join us afterwards, and also CHULUN Jung will be performing live and making his New York City American debut. So we're excited about that. And so just, I guess the virtual stage equivalent of please turn off your cell phones is please keep yourself muted. We thank you for joining us. And okay, so again, if you have questions for the performers in the post-performance question and answer session, please post your questions to the chat. We'll look at it there. And if you haven't already done so, there's a program in the chat available with little bio programs. Okay, our first performance tonight is on video. It comes from XELEIGHTA Bernardo. XELEIGHTA is first-generation American, with her family hailing from the northern half of the Philippines. She was born in the Bronx, but has lived mostly in North Carolina her entire life. And apparently she came to New York City every time she could in every school break, but now she's here. She's here in New York City, here at BMCC. She's been acting for 8 years now and hopes to continue to do so for the rest of her life, and we want that to happen too. So let's put our digital hands and hearts together for XELEIGHTA Bernardo.
And in a strong GI's embrace, flee this life, flee this place, a world that's far away, where life is not unkind. The movie in my mind. XELEIGHTA, take your time. Zell, you don't get it. And I know you don't, and you know why? Because you still have hope and trust in this world. Let me be completely honest with you, kid. I have been through a lot, and you have too. You just don't realize how bad it is yet. Those comments men say about you and Mom, It's not okay. I love exotic women. You were 12. Mom and Dad came here for some American dream, and so do all of our titas and titos who come here too. What even is the American dream but losing the culture you brought with you to fit in with people who don't even want you here? Where are you from? No. Where are you really from? We were born here, in the Bronx, and we are still foreigners to them. I was born in the Bronx, but my parents immigrated here from the Philippines. So then what was your immigration process like? We haven't even been to the Philippines since we were 12, and we haven't gone back since, not even when Ima died. Not even when our cousin passed away. You don't even speak Tagalog. All we do is understand it, and we're still not one of them. Sorry. You'll understand later. XELEIGHTA. Look, I don't know how you feel, but I will. And even when that happens, I will be here with you. I will grow up and I will feel everything you go through, every emotion you have gone through, and I am sure it will hurt. But I'll understand as I go. And I know this because I'm looking at you now. This pain you're feeling, I'm assuming is because you know these things need to be done. I know it isn't okay, but what can I do? The future is up to you. We can talk about it and help people learn, but that requires a lot of trust that I see you've lost in people. But hey, where we come from will always matter. Not because we are foreigners, but because it sets us apart. We have a story to tell, so let's tell it. Think of it as like a superpower. We aren't a monolith. We learned English and how to translate what we hear, so let's do that. Let's write a play, a skit, a monologue. You can start. I may not get it yet, but I'm still here, inside of you. Give me a voice, like you gave Ima a voice. Take your time, and please don't give up.
Thank you, XELEIGHTA. That was wonderful on video. So yes, thank you so much. Next up is CHUNMEI Lee. Also on video, CHUNMEI Lee is a new student here at BMCC. She's studying theater, but is also very interested in film and video production. And she'll be her monologue, "Is It Really Worth It?" is her first monologue as a playwright, but she chose to write her own justice prelude, and her justice prelude is called "Where Is My Justice?" So she'll be reading an excerpt from "Is It Really Worth It?" preceded by her prelude justice, "Where Is My Justice?" So once again, let's put our digital hands and hearts together for CHUNMEI Lee.
Hello everyone, my name is CHUNMEI Lee. Today I'm going to play a self-portrait character monologue that argues the theme of Asian identity justice in my community. I will preface the poem that what society justice means to me. Is there justice in our world? The world may be unfair, but there is justice. Justice is a mindset. Justice is a behavior. The mindset of justice is having justice in the heart and discerning right from wrong. Justice behavior are rewarding the good and punishing the evil. Justice behavior is preventing the discrimination and harm. If there is no justice in a society, if bad things are done without punishment, the society will be destroyed. A good society needs our justice to maintain. The title name Is It Really Worth It? I will play both characters. The name is girl who is a college student in New York City and speaks to herself in the future name as the woman who chasing dreams and work hard to survive in the US. It's setting on March 10, 2021. A girl was sitting on the park bench. holding a cup of hot coffee and enjoy the 10-minute break. A yellow leaf on the trees dancing and fell, and the bees blow her face. A woman comes over. Long time no see. Who are you? I'm new after 5 years. The girl looks calm. Don't believe it? The girl silent. You like to drink Americano. You wash your face without a facial towel. And your debit card password is your birthday. Okay, I believe it. Why are you here? I came to see you. You can see me in the future. Not all things have future. What happened to you? Nothing. Just a little not Frankenstein. How have you been all these years? Do you think that you have a good job, having a stable income, and meet with friends and families on weekends? Travel with your boyfriend on vacation? Isn't it a good card to go to school to learn knowledge so that I can find a stable job in the future? Yes, although you graduated from Blue College, you did not work for the big four companies as you wish. I'm not definitely not working hard enough, right? You went to the interview, but they hire a white man. Many companies are reluctant to recruit international students. There are not many opportunities for Asians, and you may be really not good enough. I got it. What happened later? From reality, you work with the test office running by a Chinese and take a subway from Queens to Brooklyn for an hour every day to go to work. You worry about being afraid every day because you don't know which day you will beaten for no reason. I understand how you're feeling because I have the same feeling right now. Every time I talk the subway, I hold my phone and avoid making eye contact with people, and cover my face by pretending to read a book series, or even wear a hat to try to conceal my Asian identity. Both are silent for a while. Why don't you go back to China? If I go back to China, I will be asked to marry by my parents because they think that girls do not need to have a higher education. In their era, they believe that women should put family first. I don't want this. I am in a graduate school now. I will pursue my American dreams to be an outstanding accountant and financial analyst. The girl was thoughtful. When she looked up and asked, "Is it really worth it?" the woman was no longer there. Thank you.
Well, thank you, CHUNMEI. I believe she's in China now too, so it's wonderful. So glad she could be here. We love the international enrollment here at BMCC as well, and we're crossing bridges and continents and worlds. Next up, performing live is making his New York City BMCC and American debut is CHULUN Jung. CHULUN was born and raised in South Korea, and he's a theater major in here at BMCC and a new New York City resident too. So we're so happy to have him here. For his Justice Prelude, it's going to be he'll be performing a piece in Korean, and I will be posting a translation of his prelude in the chat. So during that time, the chat will be paused. So we will put he'll be reading his Justice Prelude in Korean, and the translation will be in the chat. And again, please hope you could stay to join us for a Q&A with both CHULUN Jung and XELEIGHTA Bernardo. And now, once again, let's put our digital hearts and hands together for CHULUN Jung.
Hi, everyone. I'm CHULUN Jung from South Korea. My first reading is an appealing letter for democracy in South Korea. It was written by a great writer, Shimin Yu. So he wrote this when he was in jail because he participated in student movement for democracy in South Korea. So I want you all to think about how we can make social justice in America or in NYC community as a student and as professors. 본 피고인은 다른 사람보다 더 격정적이거나 또는 잘난 체하기 좋아하는 인간이 결코 아니며 하물며 빨간 물이 들어있거나 폭력을 숭배하는 젊은이는 더욱 아니기 때문입니다. 본 피고인은 거리에서 흔히 볼 수 있는 가장 평범한 청년에 지나지 않으며 늘 불의를 보고 지나치지 말라. 이웃의 아픔을 나의 아픔처럼 생각하라. 거짓말하지 말라고 가르쳐 주신 지금은 그분들의 성함조차 기억할 수 없는 국민학교 시절 선생님들의 말씀을 불변의 진리로 생각하는 오히려 조금은 우직한 편에 속하는 젊은이입니다. 빛나는 미래를 생각할 때마다 가슴 설레던 19살의 소년이 7년 지난 지금 용서받을 수 없는 폭력배처럼 비난받게 된 것은 결코 온순한 소년이 포악한 청년으로 성장했기 때문이 아니라 이 시대가 가장 온순한 인간들 중에서 가장 열렬한 투사를 만들어내는 부정한 시대이기 때문입니다. 본 피고인은 지난 7년간 거쳐온 삶의 여정은 결코 특수한 예외가 아니라 이 시대의 모든 학생들이 공유하는 보편적 경험입니다. 본 피고인은 이 시대의 모든 양심과 함께 민주주의에 대한 믿음에 비추어 정통성도 효율성도 갖지 못한 군사 독재 정권에 저항하여 민주제도의 회복을 요구하는 학생운동이야말로 이 가위 눌린 민중의 혼을 흔들어 깨우는 새벽의 종소리임을 확신하는 바입니다. 모순투성이이기 때문에 더욱더 내 나라를 사랑하는 본 피고인은 불의가 횡행하는 시대라면 언제 어디서나 타당한 격언인 네크라소프의 식으로 이 보잘것없는 독백을 마치고자 합니다. 슬픔도 노여움도 느끼지 못하는 자는 조국을 사랑하고 있지 않다. Thank you. So I will read my next reading. It's about identity and justice as a Korean and Asian in NYC community and in America. Hi, world. I'm Young. How are you? I started my new life as a student and as an actor in NYC, but it's quite different. Sometimes I'm afraid. I'm afraid of being a Korean and Asian here. Some of my Korean friends told me that we have to learn only American cultures and abandon Korean cultures to continue my career as an actor in America. They said that there are few ways to get the characters in America, and we usually play silly and ignored roles in the plays and films. On top of that, I saw and experienced lots of racial discriminations to the Asians these days. Even some women were killed by a racist. I don't know why people do that to us. I don't know how to handle it. Can I continue my life here and become an actor? Please let me know. Hello, Young. I'm old. I watched your video very well. I'm so sorry for what you're going through right now. I really sympathize with you. However, I think it will be a big starting point for change in American society. If you look around a little bit more, our Korean and Asian cultures have a great influence on the NYC community and even the whole world. You know, Psy, BTS, the movie Parasite, and Minari, and even delicious Korean foods are receiving great attention. You know why? It's because they never abandoned their Korean identities. Although we were ignored and discriminated against, we have shown pride in our cultures. We never give up. In response to the wave of attacks against Asians in 2021, people from all backgrounds rallied to support Asians in America. Things are much better for us now. One line I really like in Minari says, Minari grows like a weed, so anyone can eat it. Even the poor, even rich people. Minari is wonderful. Eventually, Asians are going to play a crucial role. We will influence society towards a positive change. In NYC, you will make a difference along with other diverse individuals. As I'm a Korean actor, I'll cheer for you. I'm not saying it will be easy or smooth in the future. However, what I'm saying is keep your identity as a Korean and share it with others. You will definitely be able to create a brighter society. Don't give up. I'll be here for you, and many people will be there for you. No worries. I'll pray for you. Thank you.
And thank you, CHULUN. That was wonderful. Making his debut here. Let's put our digital hands and hearts together for CHULUN Jung, for CHUNMEI Lee, and from XELEIGHTA Bernardo. And I'm very happy to welcome them both to the virtual stage now for our conversation. I hope the audience will have some questions for them as well. So I just wanted to well, welcome. Thank you so much for being part of this tonight, then too. And I guess we'll work backwards. CHULUN, you just came off the virtual stage. How are you feeling? First time being a performer here in New York City in the USA.
Right. Yeah, I did it. So yeah, so it was really good. Yeah, to show my reading and yeah, my performance in a Zoom. Yeah, so thank you for everyone.
And XELEIGHTA, how did you feel about your seeing yourself on the virtual stage? Have you done a lot of virtual stage performance so far in this past pandemic year? Have you?
I have not done a virtual performance yet, so seeing my videos getting played virtually, I was pretty nervous, even though I wasn't reading live.
Oh, you both did great. They both did great. And I guess how are you? And I'm glad we have a interesting story. People coming to New York from north and south, from North Carolina and from South Korea from the past few years ago. But and how are you coping in this moment, both as young Asian Americans here in New York City, and then also as young Asian American theater artists during this very intense time? I guess we'll have ladies first. So with XELEIGHTA, then we'll come back to CHULUN.
Coping, it's a little bit hard, especially since I had just moved back to New York from North Carolina. It's definitely a little bit more like anxious inducing because of what's happening in New York right now. If anything, I've been really terrified for like not only myself, but for my father and for my sister. But I've been coping the best I could be at the moment. I've been trying to find things to do artistically and creatively through backstage and stuff like that, as well as trying to find ways to keep up with my theater studies outside of school for the moment.
Great. And so what are some of the things you feel, how are some of the ways you'd like to respond as a theater artist in particular? How do you feel like, what is the role in theater now for Asian Americans, young people in New York that are doing this?
I think the best thing we can really do is to continue to use our voices the way that we've always been using them, creatively, to really speak to people and like the way that art can speak to people.
Great. Well, thank you. And CHULUN, you just moved to New York too, from even further away than North Carolina, from South Korea, right? So how are you coping first with the big adjustment, and then same thing, and then how do you want to respond as a person, and also as a theater artist in particular?
Right. As you said, I'm really new here, about 5 months or 4 months in here. This is my new semester. Yeah. So, before when I was in South Korea, so yeah, honestly, I never feel kind of this racial discrimination, because in South Korea they are almost just South Korean in the South Korea. But when I came here, I met a lot of new diverse people, new people in here. So I started to feel it, kind of racial problems or our social justice problems like that. So just one thing I really want to say is like, we have to share our cultures and our justice, our identities with each other, regardless of races. Yeah, because some of my Asian friends in South Korea say like, oh, what the Black people do contradicts what they say right now, because they did BLM activity, and then we did Asians did anti-Asian like hate activities, but just people like it. So like because some Asian people like only can watch some videos about this racial discrimination towards Asians. But I knew because I'm here, there are so many Black people or diverse people who support us Asian hate activities, but they don't know. But another Asian people in NYC or in South Korea, they don't know it. So I thought that's why we have to learn about other cultures and study about social justice in a theater program. That's really important for us and for theater artists. We have to inform about that to many people, as many people we can do. So, right. So I want to say that in my reading, we have to share, we have to know each other more, so we can share. Yeah. So in my previous work, in the class of Theater 100, we can learn about the Black peoples and cultures. So I can share some common senses or emotions with them. So I can feel, I have to I will support them BLM activities or another races activities like social movements. So like this. So that's the really good function of like learning other cultures through theater classes, right?
Well, good. We have a few questions in the chat. We'll get to those in a moment, but I believe both of you, both XELEIGHTA and CHULUN, I believe you've been studying and working more as actors first, and I believe these are newer playwriting ventures for you. Do you feel like maybe in this time that maybe communicating through theater arts in general, but playwriting in particular, gives us an opportunity to create maybe perhaps a deeper dialogue? And again, XELEIGHTA first, please, and then CHULUN. Then we'll go to some questions from the chat. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely believe that right now playwriting is a great way to really get your voice out and create a dialogue, because it's not just what you believe that you're putting into dialogue, but it's also things that you've heard from other people, real conversations being put to paper and then shown to the public.
Absolutely, thank you for that. And CHULUN, I believe this is a newer, playwriting is a newer, like say, theater muscle for you now.
Yes, yeah, playwriting. Yeah, playwriting is a really good method of arrange my thought and to study about the theme of like in this case about the social justice like this. So right, yeah, I don't know well because this is my first playwriting and writing some scripts. So, but yeah, that was really helpful for me to study about it and reading about it and structuring about it like that. So yeah.
Great, wonderful.
Right.
Well, good. Questions from the audience that we'll put to both of you too. And I'll get to my old friend, the great poet Grace Toy is in the house. So thank you. And, okay, she wrote that she loved the first was for CHULUN. She loved your performance.
Thank you so much.
As a Korean national, seeing all this anti-Asian hate, I assume that you identify as Korean rather than Korean American. So that's something we talked about. And I think this is something for both of you. And this time, now we'll flip the script and go in reverse order. CHULUN first, then XELEIGHTA. I'd like you to respond to that, but also for both of you, what made you decide to study theater and here in New York City? Was there a real, like a eureka moment that, yes, this is what I'm gonna do? So CHULUN first and then XELEIGHTA on this one. So just
yeah, okay, so
yeah, sure.
Yeah, you guys can show me right now. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the first question is Korean nationals seeing all this anti-Asian hate. Right. They are really worrying about these situations too. And then, like as I said before, they are not in here, and then they are not in here, and then right but as I said to the professor before, they think like, oh, it's like oh, what, it's like kind of they feel like contradictions to other races like that because they are in South Korea. They don't know exact situations, and then they don't know, and the Black people or many kinds of races support our Asian hate activity. So yeah, I really worry about that fact, like that some Koreans in South Korea like think like, oh, there are so many contradictions between races, like they do BLM activities, but why they discriminate us like that? So that's why we have to learn kind of other cultures and other history, other racist history in theater part or in another part. Yeah, so I really felt it, yeah, in these progress. Right. Yes, and then what made you decide to study theater in NYC? Yeah. So actually my father made me travel a lot of countries when I was young. So when I was in elementary school, so there are so many people and so many diverse people in the world. So if I will get some jobs, okay, I will do internationally. So yeah, so that dreams, I'm just keeping in mind that dreams. So, and then I actually majored in acting in South Korea. So just 1 year, my freshman year, and then I had to finish my military duty. So in my military duty for 2 years, I thought a lot about how I can improve or how I can continue my career. So I think combined with my dream when I was young and as an actor, so I decided to come here, and many kinds of here are many kinds of acting programs and curriculums in America, especially in New York. So that's why I came here.
Great.
I love here too.
Great, great. And we're glad you're here. And ZELEIGTA, you're welcome home back to New York too. And so how you chose, so you were coming here a lot from North Carolina. What made you want to really come back to study theater in New York permanently too?
So what made me really want to come back was I did love my theater program back in North Carolina. It was very helpful, and like I had very supportive professors, but I felt like I needed a lot more like hands-on method to learn and really practice. And North Carolina doesn't really have as many opportunities to really like reach out outside of school to really practice. So I wanted to come back to New York, one, so I can be closer to my dad's side of the family, and so I can finally like be back home permanently. And also just there's so many more opportunities here in New York than there were in North Carolina. So I decided to transfer to New York and to BMCC to finish up my school, as well as to start really working on building my resume.
Okay, great, thank you. And the second question comes from our great leader of the chair of our department, Professor Chang. It starts with ZELEIGTA, so we'll start with ZELEIGTA, then we'll open it up. Loved your piece, thank you. I was asked this question by one of my colleagues the other day, and I'm curious about your perspective on it. Why do many US Americans sexualize and fetishize Asian female bodies?
That's a really good question. I think it has a lot to do with media and how they portrayed women, especially Asian women, for a very long time. From what I have observed, usually whenever women are portrayed in media, they're like typically supposed to be like the typical household female, which is even more like extreme for Asian females, in which they're always portrayed as these petite submissive figures who barely speak English. So therefore, like even in media, they don't speak up for themselves as much because there's a language barrier. So this carries over into reality, where people see Asian women as these submissive creatures who can't really speak for themselves. And I think that really contributes to why Asian females are so sexualized, and even Asian males get sexualized too, because of the same things, where like the language barrier, or just Asians overall seeming to be more submissive and quiet when it comes to things like that.
Right, right. I'm glad you're bold to bring that in now as we're developing your piece. We talked about that too. Let me just flip the script. Thank you for that. And I'm going to flip this over for Chulun. Do you feel, I guess, having just come to America too, that there are, as ZELEIGTA just framed for us, are there certain stereotypes or maybe misperceptions of Asian males? Or I guess from in Korea and now here in New York. I know you're here just a little while, but just your take on that.
You mean some stereotypes or myth about Asian male?
Yes.
Yeah, I have to think about it, because you know, I'm really new here, so like right, like right, some kind of physical things, or kind of sexual things like that for Asian male people too, because I heard that on the street from maybe a kind of racist people, go back to your country, you have kind of you guys have so little tiny dick like that. So, oh no, you saw me, you saw this like that. And they say, all right, I think like you saw this, no, like, right. And then like they think like, yeah, some people, some right, yeah, thank you. Right, thank you, yeah, right, thank you, yeah. But like some bad people think like, oh, Asian people is like a really small and really kind of like a small physical things like that. smaller, like a, yeah, right, small heights like that, or kind of not kind of introvert person like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm tall. Yeah, so no matter, but yeah, so that's what I experienced before about Asian male.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. And thank you. I see in the chat and in the house is a member of one of the groundbreaking Asian American performance troupes, the Slant Theater Troupe, Waylon and Quintero, all the way from Hawaii. And he once said they did an iconic piece called Big Dicks Asian Men. That was back at La Mama. And I have to say that was also in my in the book I edited called Tokens, the New York City Asian American Experience on Stage. So this is really, it's meant that this thing prevails all these years later too. And I also wanted to say that these Q&As are a two-way street. ZELEIGHTA and CHULUN, do you have questions that you're wondering that you'd like to get feedback from the audience on your work and just on what's going on now too? So think about that. Are there questions you'd like to throw out to the audience so they can respond to?
Oh, so you mean, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Someone did mention about how the war kind of greatly influenced the sexualization. There are also the things of whenever America would go to occupy Asian countries, they would often bring back wives, like the GIs would bring back wives, like in Miss Saigon. They really wanted to bring back their wives from there. And so there became this entire stereotype of, if you really need a wife or really want a wife, you should go to Asia and find yourself a wife there because they're easy to get. I just wanted to add on to that. And also like backing off of Chulun's statement earlier, like the street statements that like even I get here in America, it's just like, it's always either like, oh, like, and like in my mom's like, oh, I love exotic women, or hey, you're pretty cute for an Asian girl. And it's always like, either we aren't supposed to, like, we're unconventionally beautiful, or we're overly beautiful, and there's no in between, and always has something to do with our race, or like as some call it, like a sort of yellow fever.
Right, absolutely. And CHULUN, did you want to add to that? Do you want to add a response to that as well too? Like just this scepter of there's been a lot of scepter of war for both of you, and just how that informs our perceptions of things too.
You mean about the stereotypes or some questions?
I guess just maybe perhaps like with ZELEIGHTA, there was a direct connection where almost like how it became like part of how almost like the objectification of Asian women through the fog of war, we could say.
Oh, about ancient women. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yep. My Korean friends in NYC, and even my girlfriends, like, yeah, they were in kind of similar situations with my classmates, like that. So they felt so kind of afraid, kind of scary, or some really bad, like that too. Right. Yes. Yeah. Right.
And I'm going to throw it out to you. Do you have questions that you'd like to get, questions that you'd like some feedback on, particularly wondering about you just had these two great presentations, wondering if you'd like
yeah.
specific questions to ask of the audience or either.
About my pieces.
Yes, and ZELEIGHTA too, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, about my piece, some questions. Yeah. Yeah, so I just want to ask. Yeah, so I'm really thankful for stating my Korean accent in my reading. So I'm so grateful for your saying. Yeah, and then all right, so yeah, just I want to ask, yeah, just as I said before, I want to ask like some contradictions, some like So how can we solve that thought of Asian people, like, like, oh, what the Black people do contradicts what they say, like that. I think that's not true, but many Asian people and Asian people in South Korea or in there, not here, like they think like that. So I just want to know what perspectives or thoughts of you all in audiences here. Yeah.
So if people want to respond to that too, that would be very interesting to hear about that then too. And while we're taking questions from the performers too, the playwright performers, and XELEIGHTA, did you have any questions you'd like to seek some feedback on?
I guess my question would be if anyone understood what I meant by like giving up your culture for people who don't even want you here. Because I know like that might have not exactly hit the nail for some people, but if anyone wanted me to expand on that, I'd feel free to.
Okay, great. And as you get responses in the chat, you respond to them. But also now we also have a question from Professor Powell in our department. She's wondering if you feel that if Asian hate was a major problem before the past 4 years of the former president. That I love that on MSNBC they call him the former guy, our former president. Were things worse? Did things get worse these past 4 years, especially if he was using some awful epithets for COVID-19 that I don't feel like repeating, but I think everyone's heard them. All the China-tinged epithets about the COVID. And do you feel that that's really made the situation even worse, if not just created the situation, period? I guess we'll start with XELEIGHTA first, because you've been here in America for these past 5 years, and we made it through it, then we'll go back to CHULUN. So do you feel it's gotten worse in these past, I guess, 5 years?
I would say it has gotten at least a little bit worse. Like the microaggressions went from like just being the typical like stereotypical Asian jokes of like slanting your eyes or like just making fun of our languages to like people even telling us to go back home when the majority of us were actually born here in America. Like there are many Asian Americans who have never even gone back to their family's homeland, and yet here they are getting told to go back home and to go back to where they came from, in which the only way that I could always respond was, would you buy me a plane ticket back to New York?
There you are. Great. And I was curious too, like if a lot of the, let's face it, the racist rhetoric that was coming from DC in the past 4 years, particularly at Asians in the last year, did that have a more of an impact? I don't know if you could feel that in South Korea when you were there, or did it make things worse in the past time?
Yeah. You mean in South Korea or in America?
Yes, yeah. I guess either way. Because you were living in South Korea, but the past 4 years, all the rhetoric, going like, I guess even recent rhetoric, like even for the past year and a half, calling it like the China flu and everything. Did that impact?
Yeah, right. I think but a major problem about Asian hate was already existed before, I think. However, it getting worse until now. Maybe the COVID situations is one of the biggest problem. Yeah. However, yeah, surely it existed before, because my father moved here in North Carolina about 7 years ago, but so he was got some discriminations a lot in his company or in his business, because yeah, we're in NYC community, but the rest of the America, it worse. Yeah, it worse about the Asian hate kind of situations. It worse, and then right. So when I go to another place except in New York or LA, like a big city, except a big city, oh, there are much more big racial discriminations already. in the past time until now, but it's getting worse right now until now. Yeah.
And building on that too, I think we have 5 or 6 minutes here left. Well, I have a good question from Arena Soto. I think we could apply to, as we're in a very diverse community here at BMCC in New York City. How is the Asian American immigrant experience similar to or different from those of other immigrant groups? So let's talk that. And again, we'll go back to our ladies first. XELEIGTA, would you like to just comment on that first, then we'll go to CHULUN.
I believe when it comes to Asian American immigrants, I think someone else also said it in the chat, we are perpetual foreigners in American eyes. Like, even we have such a long history in America, like Filipino Americans have been in America since it began. Like, we came here with the Spanish and everything. And then there was the railroads of the Chinese, and then like the Japanese during World War II. We have forever been in America, and yet we will always only be foreigners, no matter how long it takes for us to get our naturalized citizenships, no matter how long how much money we pay for our visas. To many people, it's always go back to where you came from, even if this is where we come from.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. And CHULUN, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think other immigrant groups, like, I think it's maybe worse than it will be worse than the immigrants who are from Europe or kind of Western parts, like Western parts, and it will be worse for us Asian people. However, but the Spanish immigrants or Hispanic immigrants are, they will experience really bad situations too. Maybe I don't think it's a kind of Asian or other immigrants groups. No, it's like just Asian or just kind of from the Western or not like that. I think yeah, because I don't have much experience about that, because I'm really new here. So just my opinion.
Right, absolutely. And I'd love to take it back to your work. I feel your work, both of the works that you worked on tonight, and I hope you will be working on these long after. Obviously, these brave souls. We're in a class, we're in a virtual class together, but then also hope you'll keep working on this too. And I think hearing it aloud, that obviously that's what's great about the theater and playwriting. I feel like we revise both on the page and on the stage. We revise orally. What did you learn about your pieces and hopefully yourselves by seeing the video and thinking about it and then performing it tonight too? I guess XELEIGTA first and then CHULUN. What did you feel?
Seeing myself on video was kind of more like a surreal feeling. Like, it was almost as if I couldn't believe that I was hearing myself, and the message that I was giving, it does hit home. So hearing it out loud, I was definitely holding back some tears.
Oh, good. So, and that, I think that'll help you grow now too, as both a performer and a writer. Great.
Yes.
Okay, and CHULUN, I know you were in the moment, and I'm very impressed. We had costume changes too, so that was great.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm so happy. I'm so happy for doing this in a Zoom in New York, because this is my first English monologues or readings. So I was really happy. I'm so grateful for everyone in here. So actually, and then I'm really happy, and I can get some interest in about our racial discriminations. And then also this also my first time, because I came here and then I felt it in person about racial discriminations or social justice in NYC. So that's really interesting, sometimes really sad, sometimes really kind of, I could feel courage, but sometimes sad, like many shifts in my mind. So, and then I can realize that it's like learning other cultures and about justice, social justice of every diverse people is really important in our theater part, in artist part, like that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right, I really think so.
Okay, absolutely. And also, it's a diversity inclusion is a very very complicated issue, and sometimes do you feel like it's very helpful sometimes to identify as an Asian American theater artist, and then other times say, wait a minute, I just want to be quote unquote an American theater artist? Does that create a conflict for you? I see a smile of recognition. So ZELEIGHTA first and CHULUN again. So
Yeah, being an Asian American artist, it's very, I just want to be an American artist, but I have to acknowledge that like I am Asian. That is a big part of my identity, and the best thing I can do is use that to my power. When it comes to theater, like especially in New York, if you look at like the Asian American Performance Action Coalition, if you look at their statistics, it'll see that Asian Americans are one of the like fewer minorities to be actually represented in theater. So it's a very complicated thing to be in the theater realm as an Asian American. But the best thing we can really do is put our best foot forward and just shout that we're still here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, CHULUN.
Yeah, being an Asian artist here, I know it's really difficult and really challenging. And sometimes I can feel sad, I guess like that, but frustrated. But it also make me kind of so strong. Like, okay, if you don't like me, I can do this. Yeah, you can see my ways, like to become an actor or artist in here. Like, so yeah, it also makes me strong and hopeful. Like it makes make me have courage as an artist, as an actor. Yeah, so I can focus. I try to focus on positive impulse situations. Like I want to change something really bad, but change those emotions to really positive things to me.
Okay.
Right.
Absolutely. We've reached the official end time. We have some interesting questions here. I too would like to, but if it's ZELEIGTA, CHULUN, can you stay for a few more questions? Can you? Okay.
Yep.
So
Sure.
But I just at this point I know this is the official time, so people need to go. We understand, but hope you'll want to stay. This is a very interesting discussion, and it's, you see it says for this is and I'm so glad to see when my students from different classes are having a dialogue in this virtual world. From my public speaking classes, Jaylene Flores. But ZELEIGTA, something you said that stood out to me was you talked about culture and losing it, trying to fit in. For example, in your experience, only understanding Tagalog but not being able to speak it. How did trying to fit in have an impact on who you are now? Very interesting question there.
Good question. So I do understand Tagalog to a degree. Speaking it, I'm actually trying to teach myself now with the help of my sister, but trying to fit in with every other American in my life because I was born here, it felt like, looking back, it feels like I just rejected so much of my culture that now I'm trying to do this entire catch up kind of thing to just relearn everything that I like neglected to learn before. And so like I have this entire, I need to learn and I need to catch up, and I like, it's almost like an identity crisis of like, who am I? Because all my life I've been trying to portray myself as an American, when now I need, like, I'm not just an American, I'm an Asian American, and that's not a negative thing. And I like, it's it's a lot to try to teach myself it's not a negative thing because of how, like, especially recently, it's being portrayed as a negative thing with all the anti-Asian hate. But it's just more of a reason to kind of stand my ground and be strong and to accept who I am, and it empowers me to it empowers me to learn more about who I am and where I came from and where my family came from.
Absolutely. That's interesting. Growing up here too, that's it skipped a few generations. I regret it now. I also refuse to learn to speak Chinese. I really regret it now, but I've learned a little bit more now too. But it's always a question, and then it brings it up too, and people wondering about how that shaped you, and then also in terms of I guess it's the opposite question for CHULUN. Has it been I guess a culture shock growing up in a Korean culture where most everyone was Korean, of course, too, in South Korea, and now coming to a very diverse city where you're in a small number. How's that impacted you so far?
Oh, so I'm sorry. Can you say one more time? I'm sorry.
Just in terms of fitting in now too, is that I know there's always issues of fitting in no matter what the circumstances are. But in terms of going from a culture in Korea where obviously most of the population was Korean to now being in a very diverse city like New York, what have been some of the impacts of how you do you feel like you need to define yourself differently here in New York in America?
Oh, differently as a Korean?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Now in America, do you feel like you need to define yourself differently?
I think yeah, maybe yes. Yeah, because maybe in America we Koreans have, I think Korean have long history until now. So I think we have our own Korean identity and Korean histories, like or cultures in America. So and then so many Korean immigrants moved to here before in the past time, and then right now in America there are so many Korean Americans. So maybe we made some our own histories or cultures like that. So I think right it's a little bit confusing, but we have to define ourselves, and then we have to think about how we can define ourselves Korean or Korean American in America. Yeah.
Absolutely. So this has been a wonderful thing. We're just wondering, any other final thoughts or questions that you were having here too? And the two of you, thank you so much for sharing so much of your talent and time. Just want to, as we're processing all these great questions and these great questions in the chat or your own dialogues too, are there things that are in your mind that we haven't gotten to yet that maybe you'd like to talk about a little bit?
Not that I can think of right now. I'm just really grateful for everyone who decided to come out tonight.
Right. Absolutely. CHULUN?
Oh, yeah, thank you so much for being here, every audience, and Professor Eng, my classmates. So thank you. So yeah, I could not understand all of the things. However, I tried to best communicate with my thoughts with you all. So I'm so happy. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone.
Well, thank you, XELEIGTA. Thank you, CHULUN. Thank you, CHUNMEI, for sharing your talent and time. And thank you, everyone, for all the great. We could feel you through the virtual channel. So thank you for everyone for sharing your talent, your time, and may this be the beginning of the great dialogue. Continue to support Asian American theater and theater of all underrepresented voices, and let's all please get together for peace, unity, stop the Asian hate, and stop the hate of everyone. And we could do this with the theater, and I can't wait till we're back in the theater. I have to say to everyone, please turn off your cell phones. One day we'll be back in the theater. We could say that. Well, again, thank you everyone so much for joining us tonight, and again for sharing this in. And this is just the beginning of the dialogue. If there's any questions, my email is in the program in the chat, and it's there. And we hope you'll be here for everyone. So again, let's one last time we'll put our virtual hands and hearts together for everyone tonight. And thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Stay safe and resilient.